Get straight to our next management. IMFA, Indian Metal and Ferroalloys, the company reported a wicked set of numbers. It seems the street wanted something more as well in those numbers, because from yesterday till today, the stock price has corrected close to around 15%. But we have the main man with us, Mr. Subhrakant Panda, the managing director of the company. Hi, Mr. Panda. Good morning and good to see you. And as always, before we get to the numbers, the street seems to be speculating there's something more on the cards with regard to a corporate action. So could I ask you about that? Is there any inorganic opportunity that IMFA is looking at? Currently, your capacity is 2.5 lakh tons. Organically, you're going to 3.5 lakh tons. But the street seems to suggest maybe there are a couple of assets. Maybe Tata Steel's asset is what you're looking at as well. Can you clarify?
Good morning, Nigel. So as you would know, it's not possible for me to comment on rumors. And, that's the problem with street expectations that, when something goes around, it's a little difficult for us. But be rest assured that, as and when there is something reportable, we certainly do that at all points in time. What we are focusing on at the moment, as you mentioned, is our organic growth. We are expecting to start construction on our phase 1 expansion from next month, and have that commissioned in the first quarter of FY27, which is the April to June quarter of 2026. We are also starting work on our ethanol project soon, and that will also be commissioned by the end of this year or spilling over maybe into January next year. And we have in principle approval for our phase 2 expansion. So one way or the other, we are going to grow. And of course, we remain open to opportunities, but nothing that I can specifically comment on at this point in time.
Are you actively pursuing anything?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are you actively pursuing anything, Mr. Panda?
As we are actively pursuing growth, for sure.
So the growth would include some inorganic growth as well, because we understand Tata Steel has shut down one part of their unit, and it could, at least from an analyst perspective, it makes fundamental sense that IMFA could look at that asset. So if it is on the block, part of that ferrochrome business of theirs, will you be interested?
So as I said, let me reiterate that we are clearly pursuing growth. I think we are primed for growth, and we are going to get there one way or the other, whether it is organic growth where phase 1 is being executed and phase 2 is on the cards. And if any other opportunity comes along, we certainly remain interested. But I think it's not proper for me to comment on specifics when there is nothing specific to talk about.
Right. We understand that there is nothing specific, but what we also want to understand is at what stage of pursuing this growth, the other way, are you at right now? You said one way or the other includes organic. There is, chatter around something happening. We just want to understand your thoughts as to how advanced those stages are when it comes to any sort of, deal or any growth opportunity that you would get on an inorganic basis.
We can go at it from several angles, but the answer remains the same, which is that we are pursuing growth. And as and when there is something to be reported, we will. As of now, there is nothing that requires to be reported. But if that were to happen, we would certainly, come out and you'd be one of the first to know. But either which way, next year, we are going to be up 40% in terms of capacity. And, if we pursue organically, then another 2 to 2.5 years, another 50% growth. So that visibility is there about our growth plans. And we always remain open to opportunities.
Got it. So by the end of 2026 calendar year, your capacity will be up by 40%. And say by the end of 2028, your capacity could be closer to around 400,000 or maybe 450,000. Should that be an aspiration? 450,000 to 500,000 actually.
That's not just the aspiration, but a very clear, plan of action in place. So, it's a question of whether that can be accelerated in some manner, but either which way, we are certainly getting close to 500,000 tons in the not too distant future.
And as of now, you're talking about this, by 2028, it will be organically, the 500,000 tons.
That's right.
And then we'll have to quiz you whether or not you go even more than that, Mr. Panda. We'll wait by for that. Let's take a couple of points on both and with regard to your numbers. The margins, they saw some kind of compression. What is the outlook with regard to margins? And also importantly, ferrochrome prices are a little bit softish. It could be a seasonal factor because of what's going on in China. But how much lower are ferrochrome prices today in comparison to your Q3 averages?
So, clearly, what is happening in the commodity sector in general, metals in particular, and ferrochrome is no exception. that prices are soft. That is on account of global conflicts, of demand worldwide being subdued, and of course, economic data coming out of China is not very hot at all. And let me straight out acknowledge something that in one of our earlier interactions, I had said that we expect H2 to be better. And that was basis the assumption that the stimulus measures being put out by China would stabilize the economy, their economy, and cause it to grow, which has not really panned out in that manner. So what you're seeing at the moment in Q3 is soft prices compared to a year ago. We're about 10,000 rupees a ton lower in terms of realizations. That is clearly translating into the softer margins that you see. And actually, the worst, if I can put it, is December, January, and February, because the Chinese monthly prices have gone down to about 75 cents, which translates to 87,000 rupees a ton in India with the new exchange rate. And that's simply not workable for most players. In our case, as you know, we have the advantage of backward integration. We have the advantage of a debt-free balance sheet. And that is what has helped us, report a decent set of numbers. As far as the ongoing quarter is concerned, we will see a little bit of a contraction for the simple reason that in Q3, you saw the lower prices being there for one quarter. In Q4, you are seeing it. You will see it for 2 months, which is January and February. But I think this is the worst, if I can put it that way, because it is simply not workable. These although prices in India are higher than that, but it's still below the variable cost of most producers, not us, of course. It's below the variable cost of most producers, which is why you're seeing lots of cutbacks of production. And this is simply an untenable situation. And Nigel, the one thing I wanted to point out is if we go back about 6 to 7 years, in a similar sort of an environment, IMFA had swung into a loss in Q4. But today we are in a very strong position where even though in Q4 we will see a slight contraction, but it will still be a healthy profit. And what used to happen earlier is the sector used to be in distress when we hit 10 to 12% EBITDA margin. Today, because of our stronger balance sheet, the sector goes into distress when we are at 16 to 17% EBITDA margin. So, I only see upside from here on in terms of Q1 and Q2 of the next financial year.
All right, we take that point, and I'm sure the street very well understands the cyclical nature of this business and your outperformance in that as well. Just a final question before we let you go, Mr. Panda. The chrome ore situation in South Africa, I mean, is it still challenging or has it improved? What's your comment here?
So actually, more than the chrome ore situation, Mangalam, I think it is the power situation that one needs to keep an eye on, because South Africa has become a high-cost economy for ferrochrome, where power tariffs are in the 650 to 7 rupees per unit range, which is unbelievable. If you looked at it 10 or 15 years ago, if somebody had told me this, I wouldn't have believed it. And Eskom, which is the state utility, has proposed a 36% increase in power tariffs, which is under consideration. But even if that is cut down by 50%, it's still a huge power increase. So that's a huge tariff increase. So that's that is something which is providing a base to how low ferrochrome prices can go. And yes, chrome ore transportation remains a concern because of their own inland logistics costs, the fact that they're exporting out of Mozambique, etc. So all of this, when you have a major producer like South Africa sort of moving into a high cost zone, when you have China, which is the world's largest producer, being relatively high cost because they import all the chrome ore, then for a fully integrated producer like us, as I said, you can look at us as a glass half full or glass half empty. Certainly half empty if you're looking at a slight contraction. Yeah. But I've always said, IMFA cannot be viewed on the basis of 1 or 2 quarters. It has to be a long-term view. Growth is what we are pursuing. Growth is what we'll get to. And certainly, I see it at not just half full, but much more positive than that. Leaving aside the immediate ongoing quarter or something of that sort.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Mr. Panda. Appreciate you joining in and giving us all of those details. Wishing you all the best. Look forward to chatting up with you soon. Bye.